On my birthday, my boyfriend treated me to a whole morning at a spa, and that evening he organized a beautiful dinner with all our friends at a restaurant. In the middle of dinner, right in front of everyone, he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him. I started crying with emotion and said yes, 1,000 times yes. And that was when he jumped up and shouted, "It's a prank!" His best friend was recording everything for his YouTube channel. I ran out of there and went home. We argued, he didn't apologize, and a few days later, I found out he had been cheating on me for months. That was when I came up with the perfect plan for revenge. Stick with me, because what I did made him cry like a baby. Bryson and I had been together for 6 years. 6 years of my life dedicated to a man I loved with every fiber of my being. 6 years believing I was building a future with my partner, my best friend, the love of my life. I played myself so hard. My name is Natasha. I'm 27 years old, and this is the story of how my world collapsed one January night on my birthday in front of all our friends. But let me backtrack a bit. Bryson and I met at a mutual friend's party when I was 21. He was funny, charming. He had that $1,000,000 smile straight out of a toothpaste commercial that just melted me. We talked for hours about everything. He wanted to be a YouTuber, create content, make people laugh. I thought it was wonderful to have a boyfriend with dreams, with ambition. We moved in together after dating for 3 years. We found a small but cozy apartment in a trendy neighborhood in Atlanta, right near the Beltline. The rent was kind of steep, but splitting it down the middle made it manageable. I worked as an account manager at a digital bank. I made good money, had stability. Bryson worked in marketing and was trying to get a YouTube channel off the ground with his friend Gavin. The problem was that Bryson got paid per project, and his income was pretty inconsistent. There were months where he made decent money, and months where he barely covered his own expenses. And guess who covered the difference? Me. When he couldn't pay his half of the rent, I paid the whole thing. When he needed new equipment for his computer setup, I helped him out. When he didn't have money to go out, I paid for dinner, the movies, everything. And I didn't mind. I swear, I didn't mind. I loved him. I thought I was investing in our future, in our relationship. I believed that when things took off for him, we'd be celebrating together. I was so foolish. My birthday fell on a Friday. I had taken the day off and was expecting a quiet day, maybe a romantic dinner that night. But Bryson had other plans. He woke up before me, which was rare, and he already had that mischievous smirk on his face. "Good morning, birthday girl," he said, bringing me breakfast in bed. "Get ready for the best day of your life." My heart started racing. In recent months, I had made it clear, subtly and not so subtly, that I wanted to get married. We were already living together. We'd put in the time. We had built a life. I wanted to make it official. I wanted the commitment. I wanted to be his wife. "What are you plotting?" I asked, smiling, trying to control my anxiety. "You'll see. First, you have an appointment at the spa at 10 a.m. Massage, facial, nails, everything paid for by me." He remembered. Months ago, in a silly conversation while we were watching a movie, I had mentioned that if he ever proposed, I wanted my nails done. It seemed frivolous, but for me, the idea of Bryson putting a beautiful ring on a hand with raggedy nails bothered me. "Bryson," I started, but he cut me off. "No questions, today is your day. Just enjoy it." I spent the whole morning at the spa being pampered, feeling like a queen. I got my nails done in a soft, elegant pink, a perfect French manicure. Every time I looked at them, my heart beat faster. It was happening. It was finally happening. When I got back home in the early afternoon, Bryson was dressed up. He smelled amazing and had that sparkle in his eyes. "Tonight, we're grabbing dinner with the crew. Wear that blue dress you look so good in." The blue dress, my favorite dress, the one I had bought for a friend's wedding, the dress Bryson always said made me look stunning. I spent hours getting ready. My hair, my makeup, the dress, the heels. I looked in the mirror and felt beautiful, radiant. I was ready for the most important moment of my life. We got to the restaurant at 7 p.m. It was an Italian spot in Buckhead, nothing too bougie, but it was the place where we had our first date. A bunch of our friends were already there. Gavin and his girlfriend, some girls from my job, other couples we knew. Everyone was hyped, laughing, drinking wine. I could barely eat. I was too nervous, too anxious. Bryson was being super attentive, holding my hand across the table, cracking jokes, being the perfect boyfriend. Every time he moved differently, my heart stopped, thinking it was the moment. After dessert, Bryson stood up. The entire restaurant went silent. Some people at other tables stopped eating to look. I felt my face heating up. My hands started to tremble. Natasha, he began, and his voice was steady, clear. We've been together for 6 years, 6 incredible years, full of laughter, adventures, and love. Tears were already starting to form in my eyes. It was happening. It was really happening. You are my best friend, my partner, the person who stands by my side through everything. You support my dreams. You give me strength when I need it. You make me want to be a better man. He got down on one knee. The whole restaurant was watching. I heard someone whisper behind me, "Oh my God." My heart was beating so hard I thought it was going to explode. Natasha, I love you more than anything in this world, he said, looking me straight in the eyes, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. He reached into his pocket. I couldn't breathe. It was happening. Finally, it was happening. Will you marry me? Yes, I shouted even before seeing the ring. Tears were streaming down my face. Yes, yes, yes. And that was when everything fell apart. Bryson jumped up with his arms in the air and shouted at the top of his lungs, "It's a prank!" The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at him confused, tears still falling. "What?" I managed to whisper. "It was a prank, baby. Relax." He was laughing. Laughing. "Gavin, did you get it all?" I looked to the side and saw Gavin holding his phone, recording with a huge grin on his face. "I got everything, bro. This is going to be epic for the channel." The restaurant was in absolute silence. Some of our friends looked shocked. Others were clearly uncomfortable. The girls from my job looked at me with pity. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. It was like my brain had shut down, unable to process what had just happened. "Natasha, you should have seen your face," Bryson said, still laughing, sitting back in his chair like nothing had happened. "It was perfect." Something inside me broke into a million pieces. I got up from the chair so fast I almost fell. I grabbed my purse and without saying a single word, ran out of the restaurant. I heard Bryson calling after me, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. I got to the sidewalk and the tears came with full force. They weren't delicate, romantic tears. They were violent sobs that shook my whole body. I called an Uber with hands trembling so bad I could barely type the address. Bryson came running out of the restaurant after me. "Natasha, wait, what's the problem? It was just a joke." I turned to him and the rage I felt was so intense I could taste bile in my mouth. "A joke?" I managed to say between sobs. "You think this was a joke? Bryson, you humiliated me." "Natasha, chill out. I gave you a spa day. I organized a dinner with everyone. I did everything great. You can't be mad about a little prank." "You humiliated me," I screamed, and I didn't care that people on the street were staring. In front of everyone, you pretended to propose knowing how important that is to me just to make some stupid prank for your friend's channel? You're overreacting. "If you post that video," I said, my voice low but loaded with venom, "I swear to God, Bryson, I will make you regret it. I'm not joking." The Uber arrived. I got in and slammed the door in his face. I cried the whole way home. The driver, bless his heart, didn't say anything. He just turned up the volume on the music to give me privacy. I gave him 5 stars. When I got to the apartment, I locked the door, went to the bedroom, and collapsed. I cried until I had no tears left. I cried until my head hurt. I cried until I fell asleep from exhaustion, still in my dress and with my makeup ruined. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of the door. Bryson was back. I heard him walking through the living room, stumbling over something, obviously drunk. A part of me wanted to go out there, scream at him, demand an explanation, an apology, but I didn't. I stayed lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling. And for the first time in 6 years, I asked myself if I really knew the man I shared my life with. And the answer terrified me, because the more I thought about it, the more I realized there were signs. Signs I had ignored, justified, rationalized. Bryson was controlling. He always was. He decided what we were going to watch, where we were going to eat, which friends we were going to hang out with. And I accepted it all. thinking I was being understanding, that compromising was part of a healthy relationship. Bryson never apologized. Never. Even when he was clearly wrong, he found a way to flip things, to make it seem like I was being too sensitive, too dramatic. Bryson lived to criticize me. My hair was too wild or unprofessional, my clothes were too tight, I needed to hit the gym, always disguised as concern or "I'm just trying to help you." And I accepted it because I thought he wanted the best for me. And Bryson used my money constantly, and I let him, because at the end of the day, when we got married, everything would be ours anyway. Lying there in the dark, I realized something I should have seen a long time ago. Bryson didn't love me. Not really. Bryson liked what I did for him. He liked having someone pay half the rent. He liked having someone cover him when he was broke. He liked having a good-looking girlfriend who supported him. But loving me, respecting me, valuing me? No, never. I had been too blind to see it. The following days were the hardest of my life. Bryson and I barely spoke. I left early for work and came back late. When I was home, I locked myself in the bedroom. He stayed in the living room playing 2K on the PlayStation or editing videos, acting like nothing had happened. 3 days after the prank, he finally came to talk to me. I was sitting on the bed, still in my pajamas, staring at nothing. "Natasha, we need to talk," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "So talk?" I replied, without looking at him. "You're not going to be mad at me forever over this nonsense, are you?" "This nonsense?" I repeated in disbelief. "Over this nonsense, Bryson? You publicly humiliated me. You faked something you know is important to me just to make a stupid prank to post online. But I gave you a spa day. I organized a dinner. I spent money on you." And there was the phrase I needed to hear. "You spent money on me?" I asked, finally looking at him. "Seriously, Bryson, I pay for this apartment by myself half the time we've been here. When you don't have rent money, who pays? Me. When you need new gear, who loans you the cash? Me. When we go out and you're broke, who pays? Me." He turned red. "I thought you did that out of the kindness of your heart, but if money is the problem for you, I'll pay you back." "It's not about the money," I shouted. "It's about respect. It's about you treating me like a human being, not like a joke for your ridiculous channel. Our channel isn't ridiculous. Get out of here, Bryson. Natasha, get out." He left, slamming the door. I heard him cursing in the living room. That night, I texted my best friend, Veronica, who couldn't make it to my birthday because she was traveling for work. I told her everything. She called me instantly, desperate to know if I was okay. "Natasha, what a son of a," she said, furious. "I always thought Bryson was a bit of a scrub, but this crossed every line." "I don't know what to do, Veronica. We've been together 6 years. We live together. Our lives are completely intertwined." "So what? You going to stay with a dude who disrespects you like that? Who humiliates you publicly just because y'all have history?" She was right. I knew she was right. "I think I'm going to leave him," I said out loud for the first time, and just saying it made it seem more real. "You gotta do what's best for you, Natasha. But if you ask me, that man doesn't deserve you. He never deserved you." We spent another hour talking. She reminded me of all the times Bryson had made me feel small, all the times he had criticized me, controlled me, used me, things I had shoved to the back of my mind because it was easier to ignore them than to face them. When I hung up, I had already made a decision. I was going to leave Bryson. I was going to leave that apartment, leave that toxic relationship, and I was going to rebuild my life. The next day, Bryson sent me a text. I was in the bedroom, he was in the living room. "I'm going to sleep at Gavin's house this weekend. I think you need to calm down, have some time alone to realize how unfair you're being to me." I read the message 1, 2, 3 times. Unfair? Unfair! This man had the audacity to call me unfair after publicly humiliating me, after refusing to apologize, after telling me to relax and drop the drama, and now he was playing the victim as if I were the villain in the movie, as if I had done something wrong. The rage I felt was so intense, my hands shook holding the phone. He was trying to flip the script. He was trying to make it seem like I was the irrational one, the one overreacting, making things worse than they were. He wasn't going to get out of this looking like the poor little guy. No, not this time. I typed my response, each word loaded with all the fury I felt. Unfair? You humiliated me in front of all our friends. You pretended to propose to me to make a stupid prank. You refused to apologize. You told me to relax and drop the drama, and I'm the one being unfair? You're not flipping this story, Bryson. You aren't the victim here. You aren't welcome in this house anymore. Don't come back. His reply came fast. Seriously? You're going to kick me out of my own house? Seriously? Seriously? After everything he had done, he had the nerve to question me and his house? The house I paid for half the time when he didn't have money. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and threw it on the bed, shaking with pure rage. This man had used me, disrespected me, humiliated me, and now he was trying to play poor me, trying to make it look like I was being cruel to him. No, hell no, he wasn't going to rewrite this narrative. 15 minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. I looked out the window and saw Bryson throwing a duffel bag into the trunk of his car. He got in and drove off. I sat on the bed and took a deep breath. That was it. It was over. I called my mom, told her everything. She and my dad were furious. That little boy, my mom said, using that tone she used when she was truly angry. I've always been polite to him, always treated him well, but I always thought there was something off about him, something fake. I was an idiot, Mama. I was with him for 6 years. I supported him, paid his bills. You weren't an idiot, she interrupted me. You were kind, you were loving, you were everything a partner should be. He's the one who didn't deserve you. I need to get out of here. His name is on the lease along with mine, but I can't stay here anymore. Then come home, baby. Your room is just how you left it. Come home and we'll fix everything. I cried with relief. I had a plan. I had an escape route. On Monday, I called work and asked for a few days off. My boss, who was at that disastrous dinner, was super understanding. Natasha, take all the time you need. And just so you know, everyone in the office is on your side. What he did was cruel. I spent the day packing my things. Essentials, clothes, toiletries, laptop, important documents. I'd leave the furniture and the rest for later. First, I needed to get out of there. Bryson hadn't come back home, hadn't called me, hadn't sent me any messages, nothing. And that somehow hurt even more. 6 years together, and he couldn't even be bothered to fight for me, to try to explain himself, to make the slightest effort. I tried to send a text to Bryson just to make it clear I was moving out and that he could come back to the apartment. The message didn't deliver. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. The son of a had blocked me. He had blocked me as if I were the bad guy in the story, as if I had done something wrong. I texted Gavin. Hey, Gavin, just wanted to let you know you won't have to lend your couch to Bryson anymore. I'm moving out so he can go back and have the apartment. Gavin replied almost immediately. He's not here with me, Natasha, but I'll text him to let him know. I frowned. I read his message, confused. What did he mean he wasn't there? Wasn't he sleeping at his house? No, haven't seen Bryson since your birthday dinner. A chill ran down my spine. If Bryson wasn't with Gavin, where was he? He had left the house on Sunday saying he was going to sleep at his best friend's place. Where the hell had he spent the last few days? I messaged some of our mutual friends, some coworkers of his I knew. Nobody knew where he was. Nobody had seen him. The truth came on Tuesday afternoon, in a way I never would have expected. I was at work, trying to focus on a report, when I got a text from an unknown number. Hi, Natasha, it's Marcus. I work with Bryson at the ad agency. We met a couple of times when you came to pick him up. Sorry to butt in, but I heard you're looking for Bryson. My stomach churned. Marcus was one of the editors who worked on the same projects Bryson sometimes picked up. Hi, Marcus. Do you know where he is? Look, I don't know exactly what your situation is right now, but I think Bryson is staying at Serena's place. Serena. The name dropped like a bomb. Serena was one of the younger analysts at the agency where Bryson worked. She had started there about 8 months ago, fresh out of college, full of energy and ideas. Bryson had mentioned her a couple of times, always casually. Serena suggested a dope campaign today. Serena is good at editing photos. Serena is going to happy hour with the crew. We had gone out a couple of times in a group with her and other coworkers. She was nice, outgoing, always laughing at his jokes. I'd actually liked her. What a fool I was. Serena? I repeated, my voice sounding strange. Serena from the agency? That's the one, Marcus confirmed. Look, Natasha, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but the two of them are arriving together at the office and leaving together, and they seem real close. You know, like way more than just friends or coworkers. Every word was a stab wound. How long has this been going on? I asked, my voice coming out in a whisper. I don't know for sure, Natasha, but they've been moving like that for a while now. Too close. At least a few months. That's it. I'm sorry I have to tell you this. I couldn't say anything. Thanks for telling me, Marcus. For real. I called Veronica immediately. She answered on the first ring. Nat, what's wrong? A coworker of Bryson's just texted me, I said, my voice shaking. He says he thinks Bryson is with Serena. They arrive and leave work together. Marcus says they seem intimate. That son of a, Veronica snapped. Nat, I am so sorry. I hung up the phone and sat there in shock. It wasn't just the prank. It wasn't just the public humiliation. It was betrayal, months of betrayal. And suddenly, everything made sense. Why he never had time for me, why he was always on his phone, why he seemed so distant in the last few months. And the prank, he simply didn't care about my feelings. I was content, entertainment, a way to get views for that pathetic channel. What was he going to do next time? By the end of the day, the apartment was almost empty of my things. I had left the furniture we shared, the electronics, everything. I just wanted what was mine and to leave. Before walking out, I walked through the empty apartment one last time. 3 years in that place, 3 years of memories. Some good, a lot bad, now that I thought about it. I stopped at the door and looked back one last time. I didn't feel sadness. I felt relief. Back at my parents' house, settled in my old room, I finally let go. I cried, not for the Bryson I had lost, but for the time I had wasted, for the 6 years I had given to someone who never valued me. That night, lying in my bed, I had an idea. A terrible, wonderful, perfect idea. Bryson had humiliated me publicly. He had faked a marriage proposal to play a prank, to make me look like an idiot. What if I did the same thing to him? The idea grew in my mind. Bryson always said he wanted to be a father. It was one of his biggest dreams. He talked about it constantly, about how he was going to be an amazing dad, about the kids we would have someday. And yes, I called Veronica. Are you crazy? She said when I told her my idea. But that is also genius. Need help? Help me do whatever it takes to make that idiot feel a tenth of what I felt. I spent Friday planning it. I copied a positive result I found on Google Images, put my name on it, and changed the date. I drafted the perfect text message. On Friday night, I sent it to Bryson. Bryson, I need to tell you something. Despite everything that happened between us, you have a right to know. I'm pregnant. It's yours. I'm going to have the baby with or without you, but you need to handle child support. My dad is already handling the legal paperwork. I sent a photo of the positive result along with it. It took less than 5 minutes for him to reply. What? Natasha, are you serious? I'm going to be a dad. Oh my God, I'm going to be a dad. The messages kept coming. He was euphoric, happy, ecstatic. Natasha, we need to talk about this in person, please. I'm going to be a good father. I promise. We'll make it work. I waited a whole day before replying. We can talk at the apartment tomorrow at 3 p.m., but I'm not going alone. Veronica is coming with me. Okay, I'll be there. Natasha, thank you for telling me. Thank you for giving me this chance. That night, I could barely sleep. A part of me was nervous. Another part felt remorse. But the biggest part of me, the one that was still wounded and furious, was anxious to see his face when he discovered the truth. Saturday afternoon at 3 sharp, Veronica and I arrived at the apartment. My heart was beating fast, but I was calm, focused, ready. Bryson was already there. When I opened the door, he jumped up from the sofa. He was holding a huge bouquet of flowers. There was a bag from an expensive store on the floor, and he looked happy, genuinely happy in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Natasha," he said, coming toward me. I took a step back before he could touch me. "Hi, Bryson." "Hi, Veronica," he said to my friend, who just nodded with an icy expression. "These flowers are for you," he said, handing me the bouquet, "and I bought some things, prenatal vitamins, some books on pregnancy, a teddy bear." He laughed nervously. "I know it's early, but I couldn't help myself." I took the flowers just to have something to do with my hands. "Sit down," I said, pointing to the sofa. He sat down anxiously, leaning forward. Veronica stood by the door with her arms crossed. "Natasha, I broke up with Serena. I ended it as soon as you told me. I know I messed up. I know I've been an idiot. But a baby? Our baby. That changes everything. It changes everything. Yes, we can make this work. I'm going to be an amazing father. I'll find a better job, something that pays more. I'll help with everything. We can move back in together. We can raise our son together." "And Serena?" I asked with a neutral voice. "Forget about Serena. She was begging me to stay with her. It was a mistake, a huge mistake. You are the mother of my child. You are the person I want in my life." "I wasn't the person you wanted in your life last week." He lowered his head. "I know, and I'm sorry, for real. I messed up, but this is bigger than me, than our problems. It's about our baby." I stayed silent for a long moment, simply looking at the man I had loved for 6 years, the man who betrayed me, who humiliated me, who used me. "Bryson," I started, my voice calm, "do you remember my birthday?" He blinked, confused by the change of subject. "Yeah? Do you remember what you did, Natasha? I already apologized." "No, you haven't. Not once did you apologize. You said it was a joke, that I was exaggerating, that I was being dramatic, that I should relax." "I was wrong, okay? I see it now. You humiliated me in front of all our friends. You pretended to propose, knowing how much it meant to me, just to make a stupid prank for Gavin's channel." "I know, and I'm sorry. You made me feel like the stupidest person in the world. You made me cry in public. You made me believe I was finally going to have what I always wanted, only to rip it away in the cruelest way possible." Bryson was pale. "Natasha, where are you going with this?" I stood up and took a few steps toward him. Veronica was smiling now. "So I thought," I continued, "that it would be fair if I did the same to you." It took a few seconds for him to process it. I saw the exact moment he understood. His eyes went wide, his mouth dropped open. "No," he whispered. "It's a prank," I shouted, laughing. It wasn't a joyful laugh. It was a bitter laugh, full of all the pain and rage I had felt. "There is no baby, Bryson. There never was. I just wanted you to feel a fraction of what I felt in that restaurant." He stood up so fast he almost tripped. "You're lying. You sent me the picture of the test." "Google Images and Photoshop are wonderful things," Veronica said, clearly amused. Bryson's face went through several emotions: confusion, rage, despair, pain. He sank back onto the sofa with his head in his hands. "How could you?" he whispered. "You know how much I wanted to be a father." "And you knew how much I wanted to marry you," I replied, my voice hard. "I guess we're even." "This is different. You played with a life. You played with something important to me." "I played with something important to you. Seems pretty similar to me." "I'm going to sue you," he said, his voice gaining anger. "This was cruel." "Calm down," I said. "You're just going to have a little problem. My dad is suing you and Gavin first." He lifted his head. "What?" "Public humiliation, intentional infliction of emotional distress. You humiliated me intentionally in public. You recorded it all without my permission, with the intent to publish online for views. Gavin was an accomplice. You're both going to pay for it." "You're bluffing." "I wish. My dad already filed the lawsuit. You'll get served officially this week." Bryson turned white. "Natasha, don't do this. I was joking. I'm not going to sue you. Please, this will ruin me. It'll ruin Gavin too." Y'all should have thought about that before. I'm sorry, he shouted, standing up again. I'm sorry, okay? I was an idiot. I messed up. But suing us? That's going too far. Too far? I repeated in disbelief. You cheated on me for months. You used me to pay your bills. You humiliated me publicly. And I'm going too far? I never used you, Natasha. I paid the rent when you didn't have money. I paid for food, bills, everything. You stayed with me because it was convenient, because you had a place to live for free a good chunk of the time, didn't you? Yes, I shouted, and you know it. You never loved me. You liked what I did for you. You liked having a girlfriend who supported you while you played YouTuber. He said nothing because there was nothing to say, because it was true and he knew it. I got up from the sofa, grabbed my purse. Veronica was already standing, ready to leave. Oh, and just so you know, I said, stopping near the door, I called the landlord this morning. I broke the lease. Bryson turned pale. You already canceled it? You have 2 weeks to get your stuff out of here. After that, the apartment goes back to the property management, Bryson. And the fee for breaking the lease? It was $3,000. Half is yours, $1,500. You owe me that money. He wiped his hand over his face, looking desperate. I don't have $1,500 right now. Not my problem, I replied coldly. You owe me, and I expect to receive it. My dad will be in touch with you about it. Natasha, please. Goodbye, Bryson. I opened the door and walked out, Veronica right behind me. I slammed the door shut, and in the silence of the hallway, we heard a sob. Loud, desperate, pathetic. Bryson was crying. Veronica looked at me with wide eyes. I paused for a second with my hand still on the knob. A part of me, the part that still remembered the 6 years together, wanted to go back, comfort him, try one more time. But the bigger part, the one that was hurt, furious, and finally awake, kept walking. Let's go, I told Veronica, and we walked down the hall. The sobs got more distant with every step. When we got into the elevator, Veronica hugged me tight. You were amazing, she said. You were so strong. And it was only there, away from him, that I let my own tears fall. Not from sadness for what I had lost, but from relief for what I had left behind. It was finally over. I was finally free. The next weeks were a roller coaster. My dad really sued Bryson and Gavin. The papers were served on a Thursday. Bryson tried calling me. He sent me dozens of messages begging me to drop the lawsuit. I ignored them all. The case was relatively quick. My dad had solid evidence. The video, witnesses from the restaurant, Bryson's texts mocking me afterward. Their lawyer tried to argue it was just a prank, but when my dad presented evidence of psychological damage because I had started therapy after everything, their case crumbled. We won. The settlement was significant, $50,000 from each of them, enough for a down payment on my own condo, something just mine. But the money wasn't the best part. The best part was seeing the social consequences. The video Gavin had posted before the lawsuit started went viral, but not in the way they expected. People were furious. The comments were brutal. What kind of person does that to someone they love? This isn't funny, it's cruel. I hope she left him. You two are trash. Their channel lost thousands of subscribers. Gavin had to delete the video after threats regarding privacy violation, but it was already too late. There were re-uploads everywhere. Bryson lost several gigs because of it. Nobody wanted to work with the guy who pulled a cruel prank on his girlfriend. His reputation was ruined. And Serena, from what I heard through a mutual friend, Serena had thanked God that Bryson broke up with her. She said it was a liberation. My friend told me via text. Serena said if she was still with him when all this blew up, she would be dragged into the mess. She didn't want to be associated with the dude from the cruel prank. When he tried to get back with her after I blocked him, she didn't even reply to his messages. So that was that. Serena had been lucky to escape before the disaster. She had come out unscathed without any consequence for messing with a man who had a girlfriend. But karma was patient, I had learned, and at some point, somewhere, Serena would find hers too. Maybe she'd do it to someone else. Maybe someone would do it to her. But at some point, that girl would pay for participating in the destruction of my relationship. I found out Bryson was living with his parents now in a suburb an hour outside the city. No apartment, no girlfriend, no side chick, no money, and a destroyed reputation. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life. I continued therapy, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. My therapist helped me see the toxic patterns I had accepted. She helped me understand my own worth. I got a promotion at work. My boss had been impressed with how I handled everything, with my strength and resilience. I bought a beautiful small condo with the settlement money. I decorated it my way, with my favorite colors, my things. Nobody to criticize, nobody to control. And 3 months after everything, I met someone, Carter. We met at a work networking event. He was kind, respectful, had a stable job, and best of all, he treated me like I deserved to be treated. It wasn't love at first sight. It was better. It was built on solid foundations, respect, admiration, real partnership. 10 months after meeting Carter, I was in my condo making dinner when I got a text from Veronica. Nat, turn on the news right now. I grabbed the remote, confused, and switched to the channel she mentioned, and there was Bryson and Gavin's mugshot on the screen, the word arrested in capital letters. I turned up the volume, my heart racing. The two men were arrested today following a prank that resulted in serious injuries to a victim. Bryson Jenkins, 30, and Gavin Williams, 28, are known for their YouTube channel where they post prank videos. This time, however, the prank went too far. The report showed footage of an ambulance, police, a woman being taken out on a stretcher. The victim, whose identity will not be revealed, suffered a panic attack so severe during the prank that she had to be hospitalized. The two men are being charged with aggravated assault, disorderly conduct, and reckless endangerment. If convicted, they could face up to 3 years in prison. I stared at the screen, jaw dropped. They hadn't learned anything, absolutely nothing. After everything that happened to me, after the lawsuit, after the consequences, they had kept going. They kept playing cruel pranks on innocent people. And this time, they had gone too far. The phone rang. It was Veronica. "Are you seeing this?" she practically screamed. "I'm watching." What idiots, what absolute idiots. They didn't learn a thing. "Now they'll learn," I said, and realized I was smiling. It wasn't a happy smile. It was a smile of justice. They could get 3 years in prison, Veronica. 3 years. "Karma is real, Nat," she said. "Karma is very real." Carter appeared in the kitchen doorway, concerned by my expression. What happened? Remember my ex, the one with the prank? How could I forget? He and his friend got arrested. They did a prank that sent a woman to the hospital. Carter shook his head in disbelief. What a couple of idiots. Yeah, some tremendous, I agreed, but at least now they're going to pay for it for real. In the following days, the story blew up. The video of the prank had leaked. They had recorded everything, as always, and the internet was furious. People were sharing the old video of my prank, too, connecting the dots, showing the pattern of cruelty. Bryson and Gavin became national examples of what not to do. Their faces were everywhere, always with the word arrested or cruel next to them. And me? I was finally at peace because it hadn't just been me. I hadn't been too sensitive, too dramatic, too overreacting. They were cruel. They always were. And now the whole world knew. Months passed. Bryson and Gavin's case went to trial. They were convicted. 2.5 years in prison each, plus hefty fines, plus a restraining order from the victim. Life went on. My life went on. I got another promotion at work. I bought new furniture for the condo. I traveled to Europe with Veronica. I continued therapy and learned to trust again, to love again, to value myself for real. And Carter? Carter was everything Bryson never was. Kind without being weak, attentive without being controlling, a true partner in everything. 2 years after the day I met Carter, on a Friday night, I was in my condo making dinner for the two of us. It was something we had started doing. Friday nights, just us. No distractions, no phones, just us. I finished making the pasta he loved and put it on the table. I lit the candles. Everything was perfect. The doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there he was, with flowers in hand and that smile that always melted me. "Hey, beautiful." "Hi, come in. Dinner's almost ready." We ate dinner, talking about our day, plans for the weekend, the movie we were going to watch later. It was comforting. It was simple. It was real. When we finished eating, I went to get up for dessert, but Carter grabbed my hand. "Wait, before dessert, there's something I need to tell you." I looked at him, curious. He was nervous. I could see it by his slightly trembling hands, by the way he swallowed before speaking. And then he got up from the chair and got down on one knee. My heart stopped. "Natasha," he began, and his voice was emotional but steady. "Since the day I met you, you fascinate me. Your strength, your intelligence, your kindness, your ability to rebuild your life after everything you went through. You are the strongest woman I have ever met." Tears were already starting to form in my eyes, but they were good tears, right tears. "I love you. I love you in a way I never imagined possible, and I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy, supporting you, being your true partner in everything." He pulled a small box from his pocket, opened it, and there was the most beautiful ring I had ever seen in my life. "Natasha, will you marry me?" I couldn't speak. I could only nod my head with tears running down my face, while a huge smile took over. "Yes," I finally managed to whisper. "Yes, yes, yes." He slipped the ring on my finger, which had nails perfectly done as always, and pulled me into a hug. We stood there hugging in my kitchen, crying and laughing at the same time. "I wanted to ask you here," he said quietly in my ear, "in your home, just the two of us, no pressure, no audience, nothing but us. I wanted it to be perfect for you, like you deserve." And it was perfect. It was exactly what I deserved. Today, I look back and barely recognize the woman I was, the woman who accepted crumbs and called it love, the woman who made herself small to fit someone else's standards, the woman who paid the bills for a man who didn't value her. That Natasha died the day of that prank, and in her place, someone stronger, wiser, more complete was born. Bryson gave me a gift that day, although unknowingly. He gave me my freedom. He showed me I deserved more. He forced me to wake up and see reality, and I, in return, gave him exactly what he deserved, a little taste of his own medicine and the opportunity to face the consequences of his actions. Bryson and Gavin are still in jail, paying for what they did, not just to me, but to others, because people like that don't stop. They don't change. They keep hurting people until someone stops them, and they were stopped. Meanwhile, I am here engaged to the man who treats me like I always deserve to be treated, with a job I love, with a condo that is all mine, with real friends, with a life I built from the ashes of what was destroyed. Karma isn't a theory. Karma is a woman who got tired of being treated like a doormat and decided to collect the debt. And sometimes, just sometimes, karma is also the universe putting people exactly where they deserve to be. Bryson is where he deserves to be, behind bars, and I am where I deserve to be, free, happy, and truly loved. When the masks fall, we finally see people as they really are, and when we see them, it's up to us to decide what to do with that truth. I chose to free myself, and it was the best decision I ever made. And so ends this story. Thanks for staying with me until here. I know it was intense. I know it stirred up emotions, but sometimes we need to hear stories about women who stopped accepting crumbs and chose their own happiness. If this story touched you in any way, leave a like. It helps the channel a lot to reach other people who need to hear that they deserve more. Subscribe to the channel because every week I bring real stories of overcoming, karmic revenge, and endings you'll want to see. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video. Sometimes another person's story is the push someone was missing to wake up. And remember, when the masks fall, we finally see who people really are. Goodbye, and until the next one.